Hello Squishies, I am Andrew and welcome to another Squishy Shorts. This time we are looking at the Dead Space remake. Yes, I only recently covered the original game shortly before this game's release, but I wanted to talk about some of the things that have changed in 15 years, and have a chat about remakes and remasters in general. I will be playing through the same opening section as the original video so you can see the visual comparisons for the same area. Let's start where we always start, with some information. The Dead Space remake was released in January 2023, was developed by Motive Studio and published by Electronic Arts for PC, PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S. This is only Motive's second game after Star Wars Squadrons. I honestly enjoyed this game. Motive have worked hard to retain the tense atmosphere of the original version, and I found it genuinely scary in all the ways that I didn't find the Callisto Protocol scary. There was a moment where a sound came from a vent and I spun round and fired 3 shots at nothing at all. It may not be quite as pretty as Callisto, but it is scarier, and I'll take that trade. One addition they have made is a system that can add more scares if needed. Like if you're backtracking through an area and it's been a while since you saw a necromorph, the game can add in enemies on the fly and at a time to produce an optimal scare. It doesn't hinder exploration and backtracking, but nowhere is ever safe. And I like that. If you've never played Dead Space before and enjoy horror games, it's an easy recommendation. And I think if you have played the original version, there's subtle enough changes to this version that you'll still feel like you're getting a good horror experience. Either way, buy some new underwear and scare yourself. You'll be glad you did. As I said in the previous Dead Space video, I came to this series late as I had long held the belief that I didn't like horror games. Dead Space 1 and 2 are some of my favourite games. To my mind, Motive has really stayed true to the experience of the original game. I'd say more so than something like the Resident Evil remakes. There are changes here and there in the geography of the Ishimura, but it never felt like a different place or game. The biggest gameplay change for me was the infamous turret section of the original. An aggravating experience that I actually successfully blocked from mind until I was walking towards it, and the corridors elicited such a sense of familiarity that I was dreading continuing. Thankfully, Motive took the opportunity to alter the mechanics of the section, but not the intent of the actions. They also made the map goodly now. Another positive change I noticed was that there is a variety in necromorphs now. As they are created from the crew of the Ishimura, you can see a diversity in skin tones representing a multicultural crew. It may sound like a small thing, but I think it speaks to the thought and consideration of every element of the original in the remake process. The other change, the big change for me, stems from giving protagonist Isaac Clarke dialogue in this version of the game. The script had to be altered to accommodate him speaking, which meant that Motive had to re-record all of the other characters' dialogues, and they chose to recast the roles in the game. And let me be clear, the new actors are all fantastic. You know when you hear a character a certain way, and they sound a little different all of a sudden, and it can be a bit jarring? I missed Peter Menser as Hammond, but that's a me thing. This, however, brings me neatly around to the other thing I want to discuss, the idea of remakes and remasters in general. Prior to the release of Dead Space Remake, the original version was still available. I add that it is still available if you want to play that version, but it was playable on PC and Xbox, and if you had a PlayStation 3, it was playable on that. This version adds current PlayStation hardware to the mix. EA has seen the market trend back to horror games, the success of the Resident Evil franchise and its remakes, and wants a bit of the pie. Dead Space is their biggest horror franchise, and this is obviously an easy way to get back into that market. Is the end goal the production of a new sequel, as Activision did with Crash Bandicoot 4? If that is the goal, surely a remake of the game is a good thing. If this game brings in new players to the franchise, who then seek out the original 2 and 3, surely that's good. Though I'm still wary of EA as they muted Dead Space 3 to appeal to a wider audience, and then killed the franchise. There are alternatives to a remake, of course. The remaster. The Monkey Island Special Editions that came out in 2009 and 2010 brought those games back to modern hardware and made it possible for people to play without emulation or piracy. They were also advertised with a new visual presentation, which I will be honest and say I don't like, and I choose to switch the game to the original graphics that I remember from playing when they originally came out. A similar thing was done with the Halo Master Chief Collection, where you could switch between the original graphics and the updated version on the click of a button. That's still preserving the original game. So, bringing back games that are hard to play or upgrading them with modern graphics with an alternate original version is good, right? Preservation of the art form when so much is abandoned or locked to specific hardware. This wouldn't work for Dead Space as they changed enough elements that it doesn't overlay one-to-one. So remake. The Ishimura is now one continuous space. You often find yourself sort of coming back on yourself as you explore. But What of updates that replace the original completely? Grand Theft Auto The Trilogy The Definitive Edition was released in November 2021, a visually enhanced compilation of the PS2 era GTA games. Like Halo, the underlying version of the originals is used and then built upon, updated graphics and gameplay and such. And whatever your thoughts on the new games, personally I think the new versions look hideous. There is now no way to buy the original versions of those games new. If you have copies, I have the trilogy for the original Xbox. That's great, and if you don't, you are looking at buying second-hand or pirating the game. This goes beyond the remaster efforts of something like Bioshock or even Rockstar's own GTA 5, which got versions shortly after release with visual enhancements for high-spec technology. But they are the same game, and you can buy all the different versions. You could have GTA 5 on PS3, PS4 or PS5, and it's the same game running on different hardware. I would not consider GTA 5 on the PS5 a remaster of the original PS3 game. I think a lot of this comes down to perspective, history and nostalgia. I'm old. Everything old is new again, except me. Return to Monkey Island came out, and it was the end of a 30-year wait for me. There were likely people playing it, or the series, for the first time, not even alive, when the last new Monkey Island game came out in 2009. And even in the last few weeks, as of the release of this video, GoldenEye got re-released for modern hardware, and people were sort of underwhelmed. Then Metroid Prime got a remaster, which was more favourably received. Then who are these games made for? New players? Nostalgic players? I think sometimes if we've played the game before, have a fondness for its original form, it's hard to justify a remake or a remaster on new hardware if the original version is still available. The idea of buying something again if we already have it, right? But this is the rub of living in a ruthless capitalist society. And truly the only way to make your opinion known is with your wallet. Don't like the game? Don't buy the game. Whether you want them or not, remakes and remasters will continue to be a part of the game industry, as they have been from the days of Pong and Pac-Man. Games will continue to be remade, remastered and re-released. All we can hope is that they are made with passion and love of the original work, and that they don't end up being inferior products to the original. This is such a hot topic. Let us know what you think in the comments. Do you like a remake or a remaster? What are your favourite or least favourite? What would you like to see remade next? Thank you for watching. We will see you on the next one. Bye!